So today I'm reacting to this video, which is everything. If you are in a relationship with somebody on the spectrum, or you're thinking of starting a relationship with somebody who's autistic, this video, you can learn a ton from it. It's so wonderful. So let's get started, and then I'll talk a little bit more.
What is it like being an autistic adult?
It's like being Schmeagol.
I don't know what Schmeagol is.
Schmeagol was Golem from Lord of the Rings. It's kind of like I'm in the cave, like in a cave, and then the hobbits come.
I'll be talking a little bit over the video. I really encourage you to watch it on its own.
What is that thing, and why is she twerking?
Is marriage what you expected?
It's actually better than what I expected.
Yeah, she's so wonderful. You can already see. I mean, it is noticeable that she's autistic, which I like, because very often, like with autism YouTube, with a lot of women, you can't really tell very well that they're on the spectrum. With her, you can tell. I mean, there's the telltale sign of too much eye contact. You know, she's almost staring a bit. And I talked about that in my video about eye contact. And you know, her voice maybe is a little bit too forceful and one tone. It doesn't change that much based on the context. But yeah, you can really tell. And her husband is quite a character too. And he has ADHD. And I actually was in a relationship with a man who, I don't think he had autism. He had a diagnosis of ADHD. And I found a lot of similarities when I think back on that relationship with what I see here. But let's continue watching here. She gave a really good, definition of, feeling alienated and weird, and when you're on the spectrum, where you just know you don't fit in, but you just don't know how you don't fit in.
How is it better?
I mean, he cooks. He cooks. He cooks great mac and cheese. He learned how to cook potato salad and mac and cheese right.
So that's typically autistic, I think. I don't think she's saying it sarcastically. She's saying it just straight out. Yeah, that's what she loves about the marriage, that he cooks. And I have to admit, I'm single now, but one of the things I loved most about being in a relationship was just often taking care of the everyday things, like even getting food, either cooking or picking up food. So you were always two people, and so one person could pick up food one day and then the other the next, or we could cook together. And so with two people, it really helps with what they call executive function, that can be a bit lacking in people with autism, where if you have a partner, you can share a lot of chores. So of course there's a lot of conflict too, but
and what else? Yeah.
I'm reduced to mac and cheese and potato salad. Wow, isn't that horrible?
We got a better marriage than most of them.
See, he's cracking a joke. It's really funny. And it's kind of, I just recorded the video about criticism, and I mean, he takes her criticism and her bluntness so well, and he just makes a joke out of it throughout the interview, and has such a sense of humor, and it shows like the good thing about being with a neurotypical person, but it also shows, if you think of the perspective of being with an autistic person who maybe doesn't get your joke, who doesn't then laugh with you in that situation, it can get a little bit you miss out on some fun when you don't laugh together.
Marriages I grew up seeing, so for me this is pretty sweet. Like, this is one of the best marriages I've seen.
Well, I think the open lines of communication, I think that's sort of the way we're able to talk to each other. I think I'm kind of blunt myself as well as her, so it kind of works well.
And I accept him the way he is. I wish he shaved more, but
again, you can't tell. She's probably not sarcastic, even though it sounds like something a person would say in jest. And it's kind of funny that she says, "Oh, I accept him as he is," and in the next sentence she says, "Oh, I wish he dressed better."
Remember,
I mean, they ask the truth.
That's true. Gotta keep.
Yeah, I never
monitor
ask
on
an
that.
autistic person to
You're
tell
in a
the
rail
truth.
yard most days. I'm not looking there trying to impress people.
He wears too much cologne.
Sometimes, yeah.
There's such a thing as too much cologne.
When you
You
come
know,
back from work,
I do.
I don't know what to say. Everybody else seems to know exactly how to get along with each other, what to say, how to be human. I feel like an alien in my own like species. I'm not like other people, and it makes me want to hide, I guess.
How would you describe Jasmine?
Yeah, that's again, she describes so well the feeling of being autistic, where you just feel you don't fit in and you don't know how to human. You know, that is so familiar. And then you learn how to be human, but it's so much effort, and you go like, "What's wrong with me? Everybody else doesn't seem to have the problem where it's like so much effort to be social."
Two different people. I think she probably said that herself too. Inside the house and around the kids and the family, I would say she's a lot more open, a lot more talkative, a lot more loving, a lot more outgoing. And then we step out the house, and I think it's kind of she kind of tries to more or less fade into the background a little bit. It's tough for her because she's very pretty, and she kind of stands out, the big sparkle.
I love how he always, throws in compliments for her. And of course, that is a very popular channel. So when they recorded this, they must have known it'll get seen by millions of people. So I think it's amazing. On one hand, that she's saying these blunt things about him and the marriage, and also then he returns giving her compliments. It's so sweet because he understands she doesn't mean it bad. You know, it's not that she doesn't love him, that she didn't think of really positive things about his character, that she could only think of the mac and cheese. So that's very sweet. But yeah, what they're talking about here, or what he's talking about, that she's more low key when they go out. Yeah, it's of course, the more you're out of your environment, the more autistic you get, and the more stressful it gets, the more autistic you get. So when she's comfortable, clearly I love how she dresses, and with her glasses and stuff, just it's so outgoing. Yeah, I don't have that. I would be my look is as plain as possible, unless I'm kind of forced to trying to look pretty or whatever, but my go-to look is just blending in, and I love that she's more outgoing.
Show off as far as looks wise go, but it's funny because I think that's kind of like I think it's something she does maybe to disarm people. You know what I mean? To make people think that she's friendly and she's outgoing, but it's kind of funny when you try to talk. Sometimes I think that she gets tongue-tied and frozen a little bit, especially when she's in a new environment.
I've been told something was wrong with me in my entire life. I have been told that I should be more like other people, not understanding why or how. Like, how can I be more like them? And then I would watch people, and I would watch how my more like vibrant friends would talk to people. So I realized that people like compliments. So I started to give a lot of compliments, but then people would think that I was flirting with them. So now I have to take it back a little bit, because that's not great either. And
that's I bet just a ton of autistic women go through that, where they have to figure out how to be outgoing, then they get too outgoing, and then suddenly they have to deal with an even more complex situation where a man thinks that she's flirting, and that's a very fine line.
I just want to get along.
Is it hard for you to be yourself in front of other people?
I don't think that I can be myself in front of other people. I don't really think many people actually know the real me outside of my family. I don't think anyone does, actually.
What's that like for you?
What, knowing that she doesn't really show herself?
Mm-hmm.
It can be tough sometimes, especially, you know, when people ask you questions like, oh, you know, does Jazz not want to, they misinterpret a lot. So is she not happy to be here, or does she not want to, you know, be in this spot or this place? So sometimes it can be tough like that, where you're going back and you're talking. Like if my family said, oh, is Jasmine okay? She seemed a little bit upset today. She didn't seem like she wanted, you know, wasn't herself, or didn't want to talk, or this, that. And it's kind of, you know, you just kind of.
That is so familiar. And of course, I'm on the spectrum, as I know now, but in relationships, I often was the more neurotypical one. And then when you go out and you have a boyfriend who's more autistic, then yeah, you get like the second hand where you just want to explain to others. You see how he comes across, and you kind of want to explain to others that it's not what it looks like, and you know, it can be kind of tough.
Hey, you know, sometimes, you know, things can be overwhelming.
What would you like to say to people when they have those thoughts and concerns?
I would say don't take it personal, you know, because it's not that I don't like people and I really do want to talk. It's just that it's a lot of fear around it. I'm really, like, I guess, fearful of being ostracized. I really am.
So you're an autistic adult. Did you know you were an autistic kid?
No, but I can tell you from the get-go, everyone knew something was different about me. All the kids could tell that I was not like them. And I was ostracized as a child and from the get-go.
When did you first start to realize that you're autistic?
After my second child was diagnosed, and it was
Yeah, that is also so familiar. Now, I didn't feel like completely ostracized. People could tell I was different, and you know, in elementary school, like I had a nickname calculator, which I thought was a good thing, but maybe wasn't a good thing. And you know, I had trouble making friends. I never felt like the complete outsider. I like my whole life I've always had a strong drive to fit in and made efforts, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, and yeah, didn't make the
was just
connection
kind
for
of
so
like,
long.
you know, I saw so many similarities between me and my children.
Are you two ready for your big, awesome interview?
Yeah, these kids are loud.
Ding.
And
Presenting.
yeah, my son was a lot more
Testing.
low key.
1, 2, 3, and 4.
But yeah, it
When
can
my
still
son
be
started
very
lining
difficult.
up toys, and my mom was like, "Oh, that's not an issue. You did that too."
Yeah.
And when she reminded me that she had to grind
Yeah, of course, I'm not sure if I lined up toys, but I did things like, I think I was 5 years old and I had a notebook and I would write down numbers, like up into the 5 figures, just trying to fit like four digits in the square ruled paper, and just one number after another, just writing them out for hours and hours. And I would read the encyclopedia and things like that.
my food up until I was 8 years old. And when I saw a woman at the grocery store maybe 3 years ago, and she said, "You're the one that used to eat the baby food till you were like 11."
I wouldn't say I didn't have many food. I mean, I wasn't too picky with food, but I do remember that, like, we didn't have a McDonald's in our town, so it was a big family thing. When I was like in elementary school, where we would drive to another city just to go to McDonald's occasionally on a Sunday, and I would only eat French fries. I tried a little bit of the other and then never ate it again. I could only eat the French fries, so maybe I did have a little bit of
So,
food
you know, things
sensitivities.
kind of seemed a little bit different.
Are you ready for the first question of the interview?
Yes. No, not yet. We have to say shoo.
And I remember his dad going, "He's fine. He's just really reserved like your wife is."
Yeah.
It was at a moment for you where you...
I realized that, oh man, because I'm like, this kid's really autistic, am I? And then I learned about the lining the toys and the spinning and the
Yeah, I showed a picture of my son in the other video, and he was definitely, I mean, he was all into lining up his Hot Wheel toys.
Food thing and the
The flapping. Yeah, I don't flap, I think, but I do whip my foot a
I eat
ton.
oatmeal every day for like probably the past 30 years, and I can't not do it.
What type of feelings did you experience when you realized, oh my God, I've been autistic my whole life?
It was the most relieving thing in the world because it's like I'm not crazy. I'm not just like, dysfunctional. I just thought that I was a failed human being, that I was a woman who couldn't keep a job, couldn't keep a friendship, couldn't keep anything together, including my emotions when I was very upset. And then finding out, okay, there's a reason I'm this way. It just became a relief.
Yeah, I've gone through that obviously fairly recently, and yeah, big relief, having an explanation that I haven't been functioning like so many other people.
No, I was able to learn to love myself afterwards.
When you look at Jasmine, what do you think?
Do I think? She is my beautiful, sexy, outgoing, poignant, overly historical wife.
Do you enjoy sharing facts about history?
Yes, but nobody likes to hear about history like all the time. Like all the time. I was so angry reading about Julius Caesar the other week and how he adopted Octavian. I love to talk about
It's so charming that she's into history, and I love that.
and that's kind
Some
of
autistic people, they have special interests that you can relate to, that are just naturally interesting, like history, and then they're so interesting to talk to, even if they're a complete stranger. If you just meet them.
Murdered, so it didn't really do him well. And I just like history of the world. It's interesting. I read a lot about ancient China. I did the history of Sri Lanka not that long ago. I read about the history of England.
But then again, if you're neurotypical
and I read American
and you meet somebody, you might be just so eager to do small talk and chat and talk about social things and kids and
about 2 to 3 hours of my free time
personal experiences. You might not like if somebody talks about
You said you read
like
the dictionary
history
as well?
yes.
How often?
all the time,
Every
but
day.
For how long?
I've always loved that. I don't like small talk as much. I do love talking about
encyclopedia. I like to make
special
sure
interests.
that whatever I'm reading in the encyclopedia, I understand completely.
So on an average day, how much time do you spend reading?
I read about maybe 2 hours a day, and I listen to audiobooks about 5.
What are the audiobooks about?
Well, I like audiobooks on history, I like audiobooks on theology, and I like audiobooks on sci-fi.
It's so lame. I'm on the computer so much. I don't read much, but I love talking with people who read a lot.
In and out of my life have been on the spectrum, especially my closer friends when I were younger. Either that or people with strong personalities that could beat up the bullies.
Were you bullied a lot?
Yes, often. Even in adulthood.
What is adulthood bullying like?
Oh, I would say adulthood bullying is just kind of like, ostracizing, like acting like I'm not there or underhanded comments. I get that a lot.
Tell me about when you first started to realize that your wife might be autistic.
I think that you start to see that she develops sort of patterns, the way how she operates.
We have a set routine and it keeps us centered. It keeps us keeps the peace. It keeps us all from going crazy because we all have sensory issues, all 4 of us, and that can be a nightmare.
Why do you think it's hard when Logan's routine changes?
He definitely has a hard time transitioning. So if we're like,
if you have sensory issues, it can be really hard when you have kids, especially if they're on the spectrum, if they constantly make noise.
he kind of likes to do what he likes to do at his time, and he likes to engage with things and people on his own terms, and that can be kind of tough, I think, for him to kind of have to do things that he doesn't necessarily prefer to do.
What's it like to be an autistic mom?
It's like insanity all the time. I have to wake up at least an hour before everyone just to get myself mentally situated for getting the day ready. I worry all the time. I hyper focused on what I need to do for the kids. I have to wear headphones all the time when I'm with my children, unfortunately, because if not, I'm probably on the floor crying.
Do they ever wear headphones also?
Nope. They
I never wore headphones, but I didn't even know it was an option, sort of. But yeah, I can totally understand that.
Because I'm important. And I'm 5 years old. I'm gonna go singing.
Yeah, my heart goes out to autistic parents with autistic
What
children.
do they think?
I just hope that they think that my kids are well taken care of and well loved. Being an autistic mom to me is just feeling like I wish that I was more neurotypical so that I can give my children the typical experience. I'm not the mom that can drive them to soccer class. I'm not the mom that can, go to all the loud places where other kids are. I'm kind of just me. And my sister was like, makes sense.
What did you think when Jasmine told you that she's autistic?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Did her diagnosis make you start to look at yourself?
Yeah, it made me look at myself a lot more like, maybe you might be onto something with that.
If I didn't have my sister and my mom, then I really wouldn't talk to anyone.
Are you autistic also?
I'm actually in the process of figuring that out. So I started to pursue an autism diagnosis.
If you had to put a percentage number on the likelihood of you being autistic, what would you put it?
Like 90%.
100.
Yeah. She's at 100.
Why are you sure, Jasmine?
Because I knew her as a kid.
Yeah.
Picky eater, refused to wear shoes. Socks and shoes would make her just feel tortured. I can just let loose. I can pace. I can do the things that tend to calm me, because even the 1 to 3 hours with other people is very trying.
Are you masking right now at all?
Maybe a little bit, because I'm sitting still, not rocking back and forth, but...
Why do you feel like you can't, though?
Because everybody's going to see me, and I'm really nervous about that.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
I've been really nervous for days.
Of course, she seems a little bit too stiff, but that's because she doesn't want to rock back and forth. It's similar with the eye contact thing. She doesn't want to be the autistic person who talks to the wall, so she makes a little bit too much eye contact. Yeah, this whole interview, of course, they keep it very positive. And don't go that much into the challenges. But she's talking here that she can be social, like for the duration of a church service, and then she has to have time off from being social to recuperate. And looking back, it's so funny when I was dating that guy with ADHD, because I was doing to him what people do to people with autism, because often people go like, well, you were just social last night, why can't you be social now? And it's just, you can do it for a short period of time. And the same thing I found, I felt about my boyfriend with ADHD, where I'm like, oh, you could focus on Netflix, on watching this one show for 6 hours. Why can't you focus with me, just repairing this thing for 2 hours? And he would get fidgety and want to go away, or would not pay attention if we were going shopping for something or whatever. That was for us both. So that's definitely a big challenge if you're non-neurotypical, that you go through phases where you can pretend and you fit in, and then you go through phases where you just simply cannot do it.
Because I'm like, people are going to see me.
What's it like for you when you see Jasmine masking in public?
I think that's just every day. I think I'm sort of used to that at this point. Like I said, I'm kind of used to seeing Jasmine, home Jasmine, and then outside Jasmine. Like, hey, maybe we should change it up and have some, I don't know, some pancakes or eggs today or something like that. And it's kind of like she's stuck kind of in that routine of eating the same thing.
Are you able to perceive when he is joking around?
No, and I don't like jokes.
Why not?
Because I'm usually the butt of them.
Yeah, he's nodding there. There's probably a bit more pain than he lets on in that
You're a guy
nod.
who likes to joke around.
It could be tough sometimes because I have to gauge what is the appropriate way to joke and what's not the appropriate way to joke. Because again, I used to think she was very sensitive before the autism diagnosis. I was like, oh, you gotta stop being so sensitive. We're just playing around and having fun sometimes. But then I started to kind of see that she really did take it internally a lot, and it wasn't even stuff like it was meant to go towards her direction. It was kind of just like, whimsical things you just kind of joke around about, pick each other at.
So if somebody's making a joke,
So yeah, he's smiling everything, but it's gosh, to me that was like one of the issues in relationships with men more autistic than me. Just the lack of joking around, the lack of everyday flirting, which is usually, you pick at the other person like in jest, or and that's such a nice thing. It's a completely, it's a way to communicate where you don't have to be afraid, and it builds so much that bond that you need to feel secure in the relationship. But when the other person is like so easily hurt, or they just don't get the jokes, or they don't joke back, then you feel that bond is not being built. And then, like, given that I am on the spectrum somewhat, that then really threw me for a loop, because then I started to be very insecure about the bond, and the less that flirting and bantering worked, the more I got scared to even try. And a relationship without joking around is hard to imagine.
I realize when other people are talking and they're laughing, I can.
But it works for them, so that makes me feel like, okay, it is possible.
Understand or care.
but inside, what are you thinking?
I usually don't get it.
Do you have a special interest as well?
Yes.
What is it?
I really love Zelda.
I have friends that I text, but that I probably haven't seen. I haven't seen in years.
Why haven't you seen them?
Because I don't leave the house, because they're texters, they're autistic as well. But I really haven't left the house more, besides church, in well over 7.5 years.
Yeah, so that explains a little bit to me, because like I could not see myself having to deal with the 2 kids. But then I think, okay, I was also trying to hold down a job, and I was a single mom. And so I had to run the whole household. So I had a lot of other burdens. I couldn't have dealt with 2 kids. So it's definitely.
And it sounds like you crave socialization.
I do, but I don't think that most people would even be interested in getting to know me. I just feel like they would look at me and be like, oh, like, what is she doing?
What's it like to be autistic and married to somebody who's not autistic?
Well, it's good. Good he has ADHD, because he matches my energy. He can hyper focus. He also likes history. So we watch documentaries together. We play video games together. We like to take walks. He's a debater, so I don't like that much. But he likes to he can debate anything, and it's pretty easy, simple, because he's a doer. And when I'm anxious, he's usually just like, I'm doing.
Yeah,
Hey,
that sounds very familiar.
him.
I also loved about my ADHD boyfriend, how he would love to talk. And if you're on the spectrum and you date an autistic guy, things can get just a little bit too quiet, where just nobody says anything. Especially with that banter issue that I mentioned earlier. But people with ADHD, they often love to talk. They jump from subject to subject. They often have many different interests and can focus on this and then that and this. So it keeps it interesting.
He's moving and shaking Tim, and then he has the lame wife who is in the corner doing nothing.
Do you think that you understand your wife more because you do have ADHD?
Yeah, but I think it shows a little bit different for me, because there are times when I feel like I can get super hyper focused on certain things, and then there's other times where I feel like that I can't, my brain is all over the place. I could start a project, and then I have a failure to sort of finish that project. then there's a lot of forgetfulness side things that comes alongside. So where she like remembers everything, there are a lot of times where she'll get back and say, "I told you this 2 weeks ago," and I'm like, "I don't remember. I don't remember. I kind of remember, but I don't necessarily remember." And then like sometimes I'll make plans a couple days before, like when we have made plan like a month or two before that, and I'll be like, "Oh, I didn't remember that we made that plan like a month ago," and then I'll be like, "Oh no," and then I gotta.
Yeah, that sounds a bit familiar with ADHD. That, again, with that boyfriend, I remember, I could tell him something. I could say explicitly, "This is very important to me. Please remember." And then he would still not remember because he was then later on distracted by something else. And it can make you feel, like not, like he's not caring or something.
And I gotta
But,
kind of put my foot in my mouth and maybe call somebody and cancel or try to figure some things out.
I don't know. That's him. When I think of Tim, this is him. He's moving and shaking. He's here. It's just like, he's overwhelming. He stresses me out because he just can't sit. But then he'll say the same thing that I can't sit. So I think it's kind of perfect.
Yeah, we kind of see each other for that. It is kind of funny.
Deal with your teeth.
So yeah, we're super.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you can't make a person with ADHD easily focus on something they don't want to do. And same with an autistic person,
For us, I would say that it's very normal. This is our normal, so I guess I wouldn't know any different way.
Crazy.
What were you thinking when you did send that email?
I wanted people to learn that autistic adults exist and that, we just don't disappear when we turn 18, and that some of us do get married, have families, have careers, like, that we live our lives just like everybody else, just a lot lonelier.
Did you ever mask in front of Tim?
Amen. Yeah, that's so true.
I think so.
Oh yeah. He didn't even really see me pace or do like, I never really did like any of the hand motions and stuff I did knowingly in front of him. I wasn't more comfortable doing that until I had the kids. And then I couldn't just walk away from them. So I just started like, being me. But we were together like, 11 years then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What did you think when you saw this?
Well, she thinks that she has a great poker face, if you want to call it that. But she doesn't necessarily, she's not the best poker player either, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of times you could see, like, she let me in behind the curtain, as they say. With that.
Yeah, so I really think this, was a fantastic interview, and I'd probably make a separate video just about this channel because I think the autistic people, kids, teens, adults that he features, you can learn so much from them. And then on the channel, there are also very autistic people, non-verbal autistic people, sometimes that he interviews. And, I think that is so important to keep in mind that the spectrum, and you can't just narrow autism down to the high functioning people, but there's like this big part of the autistic population that has like way more challenges, and I really love how he features them and shows the humanity. And in general, it's just such a wonderful channel. I know the name of the channel, Special Books by Special Kids. I guess it's a little weird, but his interviews are really great. I would only have like a couple things where, he keeps these interviews very positive, so you won't see a lot of in-depth discussion of like huge challenges. But yeah, definitely a very remarkable interviewer. That young guy, he could be anything. He could be an influencer, he could be a realtor, he could be somewhere on a boat taking Instagram photos, but he has dedicated himself to show people with disabilities and showcase their life, how they are living, how they're coping. And it's just really wonderful. Subscribe to his channel, and I'll probably react to a couple more autism related videos on this channel. But I still love how they appear together, how they're raising the kids, how they complement each other. So just an all around great thing to watch, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And now I think I forgot to look at the camera for the entirety of this video, but oh well. So thanks anyway for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.